Okay, so going back, whenever we have the term exists, we are simply referring to, is there a real limit? Is there a real value? So ang ibig sabihin, pag nagsosolve tayo ng limit, ultimately, minsan ang tinutukoy natin is, may real number value ba ang sinusolve mo? Dahil kung hindi siya real value, then papasok na tayo sa tinatawag nating does not exist. Kasi when you say exist, then in contrast to that, then it does not exist. So when you say it does not exist, then there is a possibility that you're not referring to a real number, but you are referring to an imaginary number, or the number does not, that is not part of the real number system. O sige nga, to test you, tanungin ko nga ang dalawa sa inyo kung anong real number system. Magbigay ka nga, Irish Costales, ng isang number sa real number system.
Sir?
Can you give me a number?
3.
3. Is 3 a real number?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. What about you, John Frederick Jose? Give me a number. Give me a rational number. Yes, what number? Rational number.
Sir, rinig po ba?
Naririnig kita. Ano yung rational? Magbigay ka ng isang rational number.
17 po, sir.
Is 17 a rational number? But okay, 17 is not a rational number. But when you say rational number, these are fractions. Okay? But anyway, these are real numbers. So ibig sabihin, lahat ng number na alam natin, kasi mahilig tayo sa ganyan, monthsary, anniversary, then these are real numbers. We all know that. Ang imaginary numbers, ito yung definitely not existing on the real number system, or hindi mo siya kayang i-graph on the coordinate plane, on the xy plane. Okay? Now going back. So let us connect all the terms. So we say that we have the left-hand limit if we see a symbol that's negative on top of a number. That's right-hand limit if we see positive. And this left and right hand would mean one-sided limits. Okay? When we don't see any symbol, just like what we see here, the x approaches 3, sabi niya, but we don't see negative or positive, and that now tells us a two-sided limits. Now, when do we say that the limit does not exist or the limit exists? The first thing you need to do is to go back to the term exists. So exists in calculus term, it means there's a real value and there's a real limit. So ang ibig sabihin nito, ang lalabas na sagot ay dapat isang real number, sabi niya. So kapag hindi siya real number, yun na yung sinasabi natin, it does not exist. Now, so ano ang nire-recommend? Ano ang conditions that must be satisfied for us to say that these two-sided limits will exist? You know, these two-sided limits now requires the one-sided limits. Dahil two-sided siya, kailangan, ang nire-require niya daw, kailangan na mangyari itong si left at right. Okay, so we have left. Then we have here right. Kailangan ang mangyari daw dito sa dalawang ito ay masatisfy niya ang dalawang conditions. First of them, they both exist. This left and right must exist, sabi niya. And second, they must be equal. So, they exist and they are equal, sabi niya. And going back, the term exists here is a real number, right? And the term equal is definitely equal. There's no number not equal to itself. Am I right? So when you say 3, then there's no other number equal to 3 but 3 at itself. Reflexive, how do I call it? Identity property, and that's equality. Okay. Again, you say exists when the number is a real, when that is a real number. You say equal when they are both equal. And when that happens, class, sabi niya, when that happens, they're equal. Then ultimately, pare-pareho na silang lahat. Okay? So to give you an example to that, let's say for example, going back, let's go back to the illustration. So, halimbawa dito sa illustration na magbibigay ako ng mag-a-assume tayo ng number. Okay? Halimbawa, there is a number here. Let's say that is 1. So, here. Class, ang ibig sabihin ng limit is you are trying to understand and analyze graphically when x approaches 3 from its left. Tingnan nyo yung nangyayari. Saan papunta ang y? Saan papunta ang g of x, which is also y? And when x approaches 3 from the right, or from its right, saan naman papunta ang y? Saan papunta ang x? What happens to the value of y and what happens to the value of x? Can someone answer that? O ano sa tingin nyo? When x keeps on reaching out or approaching 3 from its left, ano ang nangyayari sa y? Anong value ng y naman ang nilalapitan? Okay? As to what value of y is being approached as x keeps on approaching 3 from its left? Can I ask John Luis Gavino? John Luis, ano sa tingin mo? Saan naman papunta ang value ng y habang ang x ay patuloy sa paglapit sa number 3? Then what happens to y? We are now moving to graphical analysis. Kailangan nyo muna maintindihan ito. Graphical analysis. Okay, it's all about understanding limits through the graph. John Luis, what do you think is your answer? Y approaches what? So John Luis is absent. Can I note you as absent now? Okay, let me ask someone. Rojan Perin or Rohan. Am I pronouncing it right? Rojan? Okay.
Rohan po, sir.
Rohan, please tell me, ano naman ang nangyayari sa y o saan papunta ang value ng y habang ang x ay patuloy sa paglapit sa 3 galing sa left?
Sa 1 po, sir.
1. Okay. So I will take note of that. That's your answer is 1. What about you, Mark Nazaria? Do you agree with 1 as the value of y that is being approached as x keeps on approaching 3 from the left? Do you agree, Mark? Okay. I think Mark is still... Yeah. Are you commenting? May nagko-comment ba? Or someone is raising hand? Okay. What about you, Jerome Ventura? Do you agree? 1?
No, sir.
So as to what value? Saan naman? Kung hindi 1, ano?
Closer and closer to the constant, sir.
Oh, let us go back, Jerome, kasi I think you misunderstood the concept. Ang sabi natin kanina, when you are referring to the changes, we are referring to the changes of y, not changes of x. Ano ang pagbabago na nangyayari sa y habang ang x ay patuloy sa paglapit sa 3? Saan naman papunta ang value ng y habang ginagawa niya yun? So Jerome, give me your final answer. Jerome, your answer is? Your answer is?
3 po, sir. Sa 3 din.
3. Okay. I was able to see this answer from Mr. Kilang. His answer is 3. Okay. Balikan na natin. Class, we are just referring to the behavior of y when we talk about limit. Tingnan nyo ang nangyayari. Di ba paakyat? Habang nilalapitan mo ang x, ang 3, lapitan mo ang 3, sabi niya, from the left. Ano ang nangyayari sa y? Y is vertical, x is horizontal. Take note of that. So, ibig sabihin, di ba paakyat siya? Saan siya papunta? Papunta ba siya sa 3? Kung nandito ang 3 na y, nandito ang x, that is 3. Doon ba siya papunta? Dito ba siya papunta? Dito ba siya pumunta? Di ba hindi? Ba nakikita natin kung saan papunta ang y? Y gets closer and closer to 1. Ah, class, para lang kayo you boys, for example, you're playing basketball. Well, you are definitely aware that when you are playing basketball, you're throwing that ball, and this is the ring, for example, that is a ring. Ano nangyayari sa bola habang nagpapalit ka ng time? Hindi ba't nagbabago ang kanyang height because you are changing time? So if this is time and this is for your height, very gen math ito pero calculus way din ito. H of t, then t is time. Changes of height with respect to t or time, then what happens? Where is that ball after 2 seconds kunwari? Then the ball is here. Isn't it? Ganun din ang sinasabi ng limit, class. Ibig sabihin, kung ikaw ay patuloy when you are throwing that ball and you are approaching time that is 2 seconds, and then ang interesado ka ngayon dito kung nasa ng bola as you are moving the ball or as time keeps on approaching 2 seconds, where is that ball? How high is that ball? Yun ang tinutukoy lang ng limits, graphical analysis. Therefore, class, as seen on the table, on the graph, as I clearly display it to you, then you can see that y approaches 1 as x gets closer and closer to 3. Is that also true when x approaches 3 from the right? Yes, it is. As you can see, habang pababa ang value ng x, that's decreasing. So dito, habang pababa ang value ng x kasi you are moving to its left. You are moving from right to left, and that is actually decreasing in nature. Kasi nga nilalapitan mo ang 3 galing ka sa right. Nagde-decrease ang value ng 3. Ang values. Okay? Because you are moving to 3. However, when you are from the left and you're getting closer to 3, nilalakihan mo ang value. To understand that, syempre, lalapitan mo ang 3. So you have 2.999, 2.9, 2.8, 2.7999. Di ba lumalaki ang value kasi you are moving to 3? Pero kapag you are moving to 3 from the right, ang nangyayari dyan is that, halimbawa, galing ka sa 4. So, ibig sabihin, liliitan mo 3.999, 3.789, kunwari 81. You have 3.001, you have 3.0000001. Okay. That's how we understand moving closer to a number. When you move closer to a number at galing ka sa right, you are decreasing the number. When you're moving closer to 3, you're from the left, then you have to increase. You need to increase the number. Okay? So another is here. So halimbawa, there is a number here. Let's say this is -1. And then mag-assume ako dito. Kunwari, this one is -1.5. Okay, and then tatanungin ka, as x gets closer to -1, that must be -1. As x gets closer to -1 from the left, what happens to y? Then y gets closer to -1.5. It's just a pairing. Pairing lang sila. Okay? Pero wag nyong iisipin na kapag nagsosolve kayo ng limit, then nag-evaluate lang kayo. Not at all times that is true. Because there are particular examples wherein the absence of, or when a given is undefined, when you evaluate a function and that is undefined, and then ang nangyayari daw is nag-exist pa rin ang limit, and that's next. Okay. Now, that is graphically speaking. So, dahil lang nangyari kanina as x approaches 3 from the left and x approaches 3 from the right, ang nangyayari sa y ay palapit naman ngayon sa 1. Ang pwede nating sabihin dito is in the two-sided limits, makikita na natin dito na ang left ay 1, ang right din ay 1. So, ibig sabihin, they both exist because 1 is a real number and they are equal because 1 is equal to 1. Therefore, class, ang pwede na nating i-conclude dito is we can now say that because we prove that the limit from the left and the limit from the right both exist and equal, then the two-sided limits is also equal to 1. Maggagayahan lang sila. Dahil ito 1 and that's real, 1 that's real, they are equal, then the two-sided limit should also be 1 and they are the same. However, if you violated that condition that they exist and they are equal, let's say for example, I am giving another function, okay? Halimbawa, ang function ay ibinigay na yung kanyang limit. So let's say limit of I'm using another function, let's say h of x. Para hindi kayo malito kasi same function. Limit of h of x as x approaches a 5 from the left is equal to 2. Limit from h of x as x approaches 5 from the right is equal to 3. Okay, now here, okay, this is right. My question to you is, so what is the limit of h of x as x approaches 5? Then I'll give you options. And may you please comment your answer? Letter A, the answer is 2. Letter B, so ano ito? Yun ang tanong. So letter B, 3. C, the limit does not exist. D, no limit. Okay, let me give you 10 seconds to please comment your answer. Which among the following is the answer when you are solving for the limit? Okay, given na yan. Kunwari, you are taking a quiz, tapos given ang ganyan. Sa tingin ninyo, anong sagot kay limit of h of x as x approaches 5? 10 seconds. Okay, time's up. I can see answers frequently suggested answer is letter C. And let me ask one from you to please tell us why is it that your answer is letter C. May we have Peter Lawigan. Peter, your answer is C, and why is it that that is your answer?
Sir, since limit must exist and it must be equal, but the given here is 2 and 3, sir. So it is not equal and it hindi niya na nasunod yung ano sir, yung meaning ng limit, sir.
Okay, tama. Ang una mong sinabi, Peter, is they both exist. 2 and 3 both exist. Pero hindi sila equal. Correct. So, ibig sabihin, class, kapag hindi nasundan yung dalawang condition, the condition here, they go together. It should not, they should not be separated. Please take note. They always go together. Hindi pwedeng isa sa kanila ay totoo lang. Kailangan itong dalawa will always be true. So, we have exist and equal. So, these two and 3, yes, they exist. But are they equal? No, they're not. So, ibig sabihin, the limit does not exist. The limit does not exist. Okay, ganun lang. Okay, so I think you are ready sa quiz. So, ganun lang yung mga ano. So, ang kabaliktaran naman nito, class. Class, ang sinasabi natin it does not exist kasi ang tendency, hindi sila nag-meet at a particular number. Ang literal na ibig sabihin kasi ng two-sided limits, kailangan mag-meet sila sa isang number. Literal yun. Kasi nga kung sinabi mong equal ang left and right, then pareho sila ng pinuntahan. So kung halimbawa, let me make it, gawin natin siyang literal. So kung halimbawa, ako ito. Okay, ako to nung payat ako. Okay, so may dalawang roadway. Nasa junction ako. So let's say for example, someone will meet me, one from Tuguegarao City, one is from, let's say, Quezon Isabela. Okay, then Nasa junction ako ng Santa Maria. I'm from Santa Maria, Isabela, by the way. Okay, so ano ang mangyayari? Will they meet me? Surely they will. Because magmi-meet talaga sa dalawang yan ang linya. So ibig sabihin, when one goes closer to me from my left and one gets closer to me from my right, then they're going to meet me here. And we met each other, halimbawa, then definitely the limit exists. However, kung nandito ako and this is a roadway, pero yung isang road nandito, halimbawa, nandito yung road ng Tuguegarao City and then questionable. Wala ako dito. Dahil nandun ako. You see, they do not meet. Graphically speaking, excuse me, graphically speaking, class, when do we say that the limit does not exist and when is it possible that they exist? So let me now share to you yung kailangan nyo maintindihan. O, diba? Ang ganda ng drawing ko. Please bear with ay! O, diba? Ang ganda. So, kailan nagmi-meet at kailan hindi nagmi-meet? Ang sinasabi nating limit is, ang limit nag-exist kung nag-meet sila. Ang limit hindi nag-exist kung hindi sila nag-meet. Yun ang literal na ibig sabihin, class. Graphically. So, when you say there is a graph here, papunta siya dyan. There is another graph. Let's say sine function. And then tinanong ka dito. Let's say this is number 2. Class, kitang-kita mo kaagad. Nag-meet ba sila? Kung iyan na papunta dyan, yung isa dito, and let's say this is negative 3. Sorry, let's say that is negative 1. This is negative 1. And the other is, let's say for example, this is 2. So anong masasabi mo dito? Let's say that is a graph of a piecewise function, let's say p of x. So masasabi natin dito, sige, ayaw ko kayong pangunahan. Sige nga, tanungin ko kayo, ano sa tingin niyo sagot sa mga to? Wait lang. Gusto ko makita, gusto ko malaman na ngayon kung marunong na kayo graphically. So may you please comment your answer on the following? Tatlo. So number 1, we have letter A, we have letter B. Kasi dito ko malalaman kung okay naman na kayo sa graphical e magpupunta na tayo sa ibang topic. I give you 15 seconds to please comment your answers on letter A, B, and C given the graph that you see. And letter D, gusto kong tanungin ito. So what is P of 2? Okay, I give you 20 seconds to please comment your answers on letter A, B, C, and D. And take note, this is recorded. So nakikita ko kung sino nagko-comment. And this will be part of your recitation. Okay, there's no harm on trying. Kung mali man ang sagot niyo sa una, at least you learn the next. 20 seconds. Again, you're given 20 seconds to please comment your answers on letter A, B, C, and D given the graph. Okay, so nakikita ko ang mga sagot ninyo and I'm reviewing your answers and I see misconception on some part. At yan ay correct natin ngayon. Okay, so thank you, Athanasius. You're active and I like that. Okay, so let us now answer the following letter A. In letter A, graphically speaking, you are now observing how does the function P behaves as x gets closer and closer to 2 from its left. From its left. So you see this? Ito ang left. Ito ang left. At yung kabila naman ay yung right. So huwag kayong malito, left and right. LR, ganun lang. Right. Okay, so the answer for letter A is simply negative 1. Kita nyo naman graphically. Okay, na ang nilalapitan ng graph na yan, itong graph in green as it gets closer to 2 from its left, you see that it goes to negative 1. Okay, I always provide this imaginary vertical and horizontal lines just to indicate to you as to what value kasi that is graphical. Kailangan nabigyan kayo ng guide. So I place here a guide just for you to know that that is negative 1 I'm referring. Okay, so if I do not place that one, then hardly can you identify the value of y. Okay, in letter B, the answer is 2. Why? We can consider this graph as a constant function. Well, nothing has changed as it gets as x increases infinitely, it remains to be 2. Pwedeng ganun na pwedeng pagkakaintindi dito. Pero nakikita nyo dito na there is a vertical line, imaginary horizontal line indicating that's 2. The limit is 2. Okay? Letter C. Okay? Dahil hindi pareho itong dalawa, negative 1 and 2 ay hindi equal. Okay? So walang equal sign. Pag D and E, ang ilalagay lang natin is just D and E. Ganyan. Kasi class, bakit wala siyang equal sign? Ang ibig sabihin daw niyan, you are not referring to a number. Hence, you are referring to a statement. So when you read that letter C, that is read as the limit of p of x as x approaches 2 does not exist. Okay? And in letter D, you are just evaluating function. Ito, very GenMat ito. Nag-evaluate ka lang. This is evaluating function. So, ano daw ang value ng p at x that is equal to 2? Ibig sabihin, the answer is 2. Ayan siya, oh. Shaded. Diba? O, pag shaded, ibig sabihin, included. And when that is unshaded, ibig sabihin that is excluded. So that should not be negative 1. That should be 2. So the answer here is 2. O wag niyong kalimutan yung evaluating function. Pag nakita niyo lang naman p of 2, p of 3, p of 4, then those are just evaluating functions. Were you able to understand that? You see that letter D ay may hindi nakakuha on this particular on the comment section. Pero I see undefined as an answer. Pero undefined ba siya? O, at kailan nagiging undefined? Hindi siya undefined class. Bakit? Kasi here, there is shaded here. Ang ibig sabihin nito, may pairing ito. This is 2 and 2 ordered pair. So at x that is equal to 2, p of x is equal to 2. So p of 2 is equal to 2. Okay, so there is a comment. What is the difference between no limit and does not exist? On most cases, we see that there is no limit when it's infinitely moving. Walang katapusan, yun ang ibig sabihin ng no limit. Hindi siya titigil, tuloy-tuloy lang siya. So infinite. So pag sinabi mo namang DNE, specifically ang sinasabi niya is hindi pareho ang behavior ng left at right. Okay? Hindi sila pareho, sabi niya. 1 goes to 2, 1 goes to negative 1, hindi sila pareho, then D and E. There's no limit. Ganun ibig sabihin. Okay? Okay. Was that Answered? Mark?
Yes, sir. Thank you po.
Okay, pero Mark, I love the way you question it kasi that is leading to our next lesson and that is on week 5, 6 kaya. And clarify natin yan ng mabuti. Pero at this moment, I want you to focus meantime on the basics kasi para ma-connect ninyo pagdating natin ng week 5 to 6, ma-connect nyo siya. At yan, I just answered it in advance, but you can actually read it more. Okay? But don't worry, we will all clarify all of these terms kasi pagdating nyo ng college, then you might as well meet them and at least you have the idea. And you can shine brighter. Gagaling kayo. Especially when you go to college. Okay? So here. Saan na tayo? Okay, gusto kong pumunta dun sa dito. Dito sa examples natin. Bakit ganyan yung sagot? Okay? Ayun, nakita akong equal sign. Pero please ignore natin equal sign. Edit ko na lang. Na miss-encode ko. Dapat walang equal sign ng mga to. Okay? Walang equal sign to. Lahat ng DNE. Miss-encode ko kasi. Ayan. Okay. Can you see my screen? Is it clearly seen? Visible?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Oh, tinan nyo itong letter, yung C that is negative 3, sabi niya. So what is H of negative 3? Ganun niya. Ayan, no? May pairing dito. Actually, ang pairing dito is negative 3, 0. Kaya nga, H of negative 3 is 0. Very GenMat lang yan. That's just plotting of points lang yan. So huwag kayong ma-confuse sa H of C. That's just plotting of points. So anong nangyayari sa H of X habang ang X ay nilalapitan ng negative 3 from the right? From the left, sabi niya. So your answer is negative 3. Why? Kasi kung nandito ang negative 3, ito ang left niya. That is left. Ito naman yung right niya. So X gets closer to negative 3 from the left. Saan papunta ang Y? Negative 3. Kaya ito negative 3. H of X, what happens to it? As X gets closer to negative 3 from the right, 0. At class, bakit 0? Graphically, nakikita mo kung paano mag-move ang graph na yan. Saan papunta? It goes to 0. So Y is 0. Okay? So dahil hindi pantay, negative 3 and 0 ay hindi equal kahit nag-exist sila, D and E. That's a two-sided limit. Okay? And we have here C, that is 0. So what is H of 0? Ayan, negative 1. That's negative 1. Kasi pairing, ayan lang siya. Pairing lang siya. So, paglalapitan mong 0 from the right, okay? From the right, that is H of 0, that's negative 1. Pareho sila ng pinupuntahan. Nakikita ninyo kung paano mag-move ang graph. Di ba pareho sila ng pinupuntahan? Kung galing ka sa right, papunta dito. Galing ka sa left, papunta rin dyan. So, the answer is negative 1 and negative 1. And all of them will follow. Nasaan dyan yung, okay, itong 3. H of 3, sabi niya, sir, bakit 4? Kasi nandito yung point na pairing niya. When X is 3, that must be 4. Sabi niya, Y must be 4. So nandito yung point. At itong point na ito is now referring to the evaluation of function, just plotting of points. H of 3 is 4. Okay, what about when you talk okay, very interesting itong C that is equal to 3. I want you to focus on this. Tingnan mo to, when X approaches 3 from the left, your answer is 0 because it is seen here. Yan oh. Ang nilalapitan na value ng Y dito ay 0. Huwag kayong malito. Ang Y ay laging vertical, ang X ay laging horizontal. So kung lalapitan mo ang 3 na galing ka sa left Yan ang tinutukoy mo. So saan ano ang ginagawa ng y? Y gets closer to 0. 0 kasi papunta na siya dun sa kay horizontal. Papunta na siya dun sa x-axis. At kapag nasa x-axis ka, lahat ng y values dun ay 0. Take note of that. That is a constant function. A horizontal line is a constant function. Okay? Pero dito, bakit kaya DNE ito? Ang sabi kasi dito, when you are approaching x, when you are approaching 3 from the right, what happens to h of x? It is DNE. And why is it? It is DNE. Tinan niyo mabuti ang graph. Tinan niyo na mabuti. Bakit hindi ko may galaw? Oh, ayan. The graph clearly illustrates to you ito yung 3. Ito yung left ng 3. Yung kabila naman yung right of 3. Nakikita ba natin? May nakikita ba tayong real numbers? Na-involve ba yung numbers dito? Nagamit ba yung numbers dito? Kung nakikita naman natin na nung nakat siya sa 3 na x, nag-start na siya sa 4 na x ulit. So, ang ibig sabihin nito, class, walang nagpakitang graph na gumamit. Pag wala kang nakikitang graph na gumamit dun sa numbers na pinakamalapit kay 3 from the right, ang ibig sabihin nito, ang limit ay hindi na nag-exist. Hindi na siya nag-exist. One thing, ito pa, one other thing is like this. Madalas na nangyayari ito sa radical functions. Okay? Let me now emphasize this. On a radical function, ang nangyayari dito is most of the time kay radical function, ang graph niya ay ganito. Kapag ganyan ang mga graph ng radical function, okay, pwede ako mag-suggest ng function dito Kunwari, ang pangalan ng function na to is f of x is equal to square root of x minus 1. Let's say this is 1. At bakit siya naging ganyan ng graph? Kasi pinagbabawal ni square root of x minus 1 ang lahat ng numbers on the left of 1. You cannot use 0 here because square root of 0 minus 1, that is already square root of negative 1, which is not a real number. That is undefined. So f of 0 is undefined. And so with numbers very close to 1 from its left, pag gumamit ka ng 0.9999, sa tingin mo ba magiging positive ang radical? No, because absolute value of negative 1, or we can still say that 1 is greater than 0.999. So you must use numbers greater than or equal to 1, and that number is 1. So that 1 minus 1 is 0, and you can use 1.1, and 1.1 minus 1 is 0.1, and that's greater than 1, and that's greater than 0. So, sa madaling salita, class, di ba ito na yung graph of radical function. So, pag tinanong ka, this is function f, or sige, what is the limit? 1 ito, this is 1. 1. Kapag tinanong ka na ngayon dito, class, so what is the limit of f of x as x approaches 1 from the left? What is the limit of f of x as you are approaching 1 from the right? Okay. Kapag tignan mo ang right, ito tayo kay right. Saan papunta ang value ng y? Di ba ang value ng y ay pababa ng pababa? Saan papunta ang value ng y? It is 0. The answer is 0. Kasi you are approaching 1 from the right Pero if you are approaching 1 from the left, saan pa, meron ka bang nakikita? May nakikita ka bang graph from the left of 1? Is it possible for you to have a graph on the left of 1? There's no possibility. Why? Because the domain restricts you on using numbers on the left of 1. The domain. In studying limits, you always talk about domain. Kasi ang sabi ni domain, okay, hindi mo magagamit lahat ng numbers on the left of 1, so you cannot have a graph on it. So there's no such thing as limit that will exist on that case. So it will always be true. The limit does not exist. And since that one-sided limits is now telling us that one of them does not exist, one of them is real. So definitely they're not equal. So masasabi natin dito, limit of f of x as x approaches 1 definitely does not exist. Yun din kasi ang sinasabi ng graph class. Kaya nakikita natin na now baka mamaya sabihin nyo, gava naman, DNE ito, ganun. Gava lang, o hindi yun gava. So talagang nangyari siya. Dahil walang graph sa pagitan ng 3 at 4. Yan, o. Clear. Very clear siya. Wala siyang graph on that part. Okay? Asan pa yung mga kailangan ng emphasis? Okay, mag-move na tayo sa next example. Dito sa next example, okay, halimbawa hindi mo alam ang sagot. Okay, for example, we don't know the answer. And we are now being interested onto how do we understand limits. So kung tinanong ka dito, halimbawa ang pangalan ng function na h of x. What is h of ano? At syempre kung ito ang y, ito ang x. So kung tinanong ka, what is h of parang magulo. Dito pala nag-start. Sorry, dito nag-start. So ito ang 0, 0. Okay. Last na to. What is h of 2? What is h of 3? What is h of negative 1? Okay, halimbawa, you're asked to give the value of h of 2, pupunta ka lang kay do, at nasan yung shaded? Ito ang shaded niya. So, ibig sabihin, this is 1 because this is 2. So, the answer here is 1. So, ano ang value ng y kapag ang x ay 2? 1 ang value. Ano ang value ng y kapag ang x ay 3? 1 din. Ayan. Anong value ng y kapag ang x ay negative 1? So, kung ito ay negative 1, then this must be 0. Kasi ang ordered pair nito is negative 1, 0. So, what is the value of y when x is 4? Tingnan natin yung taas. So, what do you think is the value of y when x is 4? Can we see a point below 4 of x? Nakikita natin ito, di ba? So, ang ibig sabihin nito, this is undefined, correct? That's correct, Daniel. Oh, very good. O, di ba? At least nare-recall nyo na. Very GenMat lang ito. So, this is undefined. Pero, class, tandaan ninyo, when you are just evaluating a function, ganyan yung ginagawa mo. Hanapin mo lang kung nasaan yung tuldok, nasaan yung pairing niya when x is 3, ano yung y. Ilinya-linya mo lang siya. O yan, linya-linya lang yan. Kaso dito kasi, exclude sabi niya, so wala siyang pair. Hindi siya kasama, sabi niya. Ito, ayan siya. Pero pagdating na sa mga tanong about limits, class, when you are now asked to provide the limit, so for example, what is the limit of h of x na yan as x approaches let's say x approaches 2. Ang unang-unang pwede mong gawin dito ay pansinin mo na kung ito yung 2. Erase ko naman na to. Kung ito ang 2, ito ang left niya, ito ang right. Saan papunta ang left? Diba ang left ay papunta dito? So, ibig sabihin, as x gets closer to 2 from the left, ang nangyari kay y gets closer to 2. Ayan o, yan ang pairing niya. Ayan. That's left. Pero pagdating mo sa right, x gets closer to 2 from the right, what happens to y? Y gets closer to ano? Saan papunta ang y? Kung ang x ay nilalapitan ang 2, ayan nakikita nyo yung movement, saan papunta ang y? It gets closer to, can I ask someone?
0.
0, correct. Who's that? Sino sumagot?
0, sir.
Correct. Very good. It gets closer to 0. You see that? Ganun lang pa ang pag-solve. So, yan o. So, that is 0. So, are they the same? Is 2 equal to 0? Are they existing? Or do they exist? Are they existing? Do they exist? Yes, because 2 and 0 are real numbers. Are they equal? No, they're not. So, ibig sabihin, ang sagot mo dito, D and E. Though it's true. Tinan nyo ito. Makamahilo kayo Kaya gusto ko manood kayo ng video lectures na sinesend ko para mas supplement pa ang learning or reading nyo. Though ang sagot left of 2, ang sagot dyan is 2. However, right of 2, ang sagot natin ay 0. But 0 and 2 are not equal, so that means to say the limit of h of x as x approaches 2 does not exist. Kaya kung tingnan nyo naman sa examples class, function g pala yan. Pero don't worry, even the name, though we change the name of the function, but go to the solutions, kaya tinan nyo, g of 4 is undefined. And ano yung sinagutan natin? Yung 2. Ayan o. G of 2 is equal to 1. 2 ang kanyang left. 0 ang kanyang right. So, ibig sabihin, hindi sila pantay. Lahat ng hindi pantay, DNE. Ito hindi pantay, DNE. Lahat ng pantay ay naggagayahan na sila. 3, 3, 3. 0, 0, 0. 1, 1,